Hi guys, welcome to a very special episode of our podcast Talent First with a man who does not need an introduction. What I will simply say is Fortune magazine defines him as the most influential consultant alive. I think I'll leave it to that. Hi Dr. Ram Charan, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to be here.
So I think everyone has been reading your books, has been following what you have been saying, and your recent book is something which is very topical, right? So my first question to you, your book on recession, was this a well-planned move or this was something which just happened?
No, thank you very much. First, this is very timely.
Okay.
How this book came about is that I began to see last December the moves by the Federal Reserve of America that they had announced they're going to increase the interest rates.
By 0.75.
But more than that.
Okay.
I lived in inflation in America in the 80s.
Okay.
I designed a course for General Electric called COIN.
Right.
Coping with inflation.
Right.
So I knew inflation is going to take place.
Right.
So in May, I wrote a 9-page article in Chief Executive Magazine on inflation and how to cope with it.
Right.
And the Chief Executive Magazine editor says you ought to write the book. That's how the book came. It's very timely. If I were to publish with a publisher, it would have not been ready. So I've self-published it.
Right.
So we are able to get between May and end of November, in about 6 months, writing, getting published, and making it available. That's a pretty good cycle time.
I can imagine. So sir, I think we will get to your book in a bit. Right now, a lot of people that are watching this, these guys, these individuals, these human beings, they are trying to understand who you really are. Because at the top of it, when they see you speak, they get a bit scared. They feel as if they're not catching what you're saying, and they feel you are a different species altogether. So the concept of this podcast, this conversation today, is to get to know you a bit more, and at the same time try to get those mantras, not generic statements, but your personal mantras that you have observed. So the first question that I would have for you is that you started out your career in a shoe shop. I believe that was your family business. And if I'm not wrong, that was your first actual dealing with commerce. That was your first true shareholder kind of approach where you were yourself a shareholder. So how did that journey start, and what was something that you did not expect you learned very fast?
Yeah. So Raghavan, first, in those days, the word shareholder never existed.
Right.
It came all after the MBA education. It came in the 70s. It came with a public company. We were a small shoe shop. My brothers ran it. It's a shoe shop, will be about 10 foot wide and about 40 feet long. And you buy shoes and you sell shoes and you make a living. So we say, as an owner, you have to have at the end of the day your cash. You know how to buy, how much to buy, how to price, how to service the customer. We were with the village economy, you give them credit. You collect it when crops really come up. So you learn the whole full cycle of business.
Okay.
It's true for every kirana merchant and their children. Right. If they're interested, they will learn the basics of the business, and that's what I learned. So at the age of 10, I'm sitting at the shop. I'm counting the cashier. We call the till. I've been doing the books. They're called khatti and bahi khata. And I know all that. I can do that. And then we doing the pricing of the shoes. And saying, okay, how do we deal with the customer? I will take four pairs of shoes on a bicycle, go to people's homes. I will know the names of the ladies and everybody else in town. I was pretty well known at the age of 12 inside town. Who I was, what I was doing. But the basics of business are the same as for General Electric. And that's how I wrote the book, What CEO Wants You to Know.
Yes.
And Jack Welch wrote me a very nice note. He says, you nailed this down in so many few pages, the basics of the business. It is those basics that enabled me. I can take any business and cut through it. So now I went to school locally, and the teachers of the school come to my father and say, you know, this child needs to get out of here. He should go to an engineering college.
Wow.
That's how that came. And so time came, and I applied to BHU, only one place. And I went in to submit my grade sheet. And by the time I came back home, they admitted me. No bribery, no recommendation, nothing.
Right.
It's strictly on merit of the grades I got in the intermediate. And there I flourished, 4-year course. And there one day the principal called me up and said, if your parents can afford one-way fare, there's an opportunity to go to Australia for 1 year. And you will earn enough to be able to come back.
Right, right.
So I went to Australia, and then the whole thing changed from there.
Wow. So, sir, was that business that you got into when you were 10 and 12, did that become a catalyst in your academic prowess?
No.
Or did it become a hindrance?
No, it became the foundation, not knowing at that time that I can analyze any business.
When you were 10, you realized that?
That's what it does today. So I can take any business anywhere in the world.
Right.
In 4 or 5 hours, I can analyze.
You just did that with Futurense.
I did that for you.
Right, right. Wow.
And so when I began to work with people like Jack Welch, they were absolutely astonished that I would take his 15 businesses and cut through.
Right.
He said, where did you learn it?
Right, right.
So now I get to see some very big industrialists in India. I see their business, I cut through it. And then it's not the academic thing. So in Australia, they saw my business acumen very early. I was about 20, not quite. And I was walking out of the elevator and 5 o'clock, and one of the executives looked sad. So I asked him, I said, what's happening? They're very informal people. And he said, I've got this problem, we're going to lose a customer tomorrow. So I said, well, you ready to go to work? And I was an engineering assistant,
Right.
draftsman.
Right, right.
So he was nice. We worked until midnight, and I found a solution. Next morning at 10 o'clock, I get a call from the CEO. Australian policy, White Australia policy, Sir William. He's very, you get absolutely intimidated. When I went in, and this gentleman was sitting there, and he said, they called me Ram. He said, Ram, you found a solution. I said, well, I don't know, but this might work for you.
Right.
I'm, intimidated. He said, Sir William, I'm here and there, he's there. But he was very nice, very decent. And he thanked me. By the way, at that time, he's serving a coffee or a tea is a big thing. It's a big office and great secretary.
Right.
At 2 o'clock, I get a call from his office again. He said, would you come down?
Sure.
This time, I'm really afraid because she doesn't tell me why.
Right.
So I get, and this guy's sitting there too. He says, well, we got the customers.
Really?
And then he said, are you free for dinner tonight at home?
The CEO said?
Yeah. He took me his Mercedes back home to his team, introduced me to his whole family.
This was 1960, 59?
59 October.
And so that time, just to get a context, geopolitical, India had just gained independence, and it was 10 years or something. And as an Indian, you were there, right? And there was, I'm sure, racism was a part of it.
It was the White Australia policy. It was legal.
Right.
It was official. But these guys were the nicest people you ever met.
Wow. So did you, when you were approaching all of that, and for people like us, when we go abroad, we don't feel that racism that much anymore.
I did not feel either.
You did not feel it?
Yeah, but their policy was to admit certain kind of people.
Right, right.
And they were opening up. So this was an opening up to the Commonwealth scheme that some Indians can go.
Right.
And they have to be qualified. I was a qualified engineer.
Right.
And so I went to home, I had dinner there and all that. And then he did one thing for me.
What?
And I didn't realize until afterwards. He told his executives that this young man wants to learn a lot of things, teach him. So I could go to any executive, just about any time,
Wow.
and they will give me the time to teach.
Wow.
And that was the greatest training. Not academic, very practical. So now I can go into any company, and within 2 days I'll be able to diagnose where the problem is.
So I think, sir, my key learning from what you are saying is that even at that time, taking this bit political, that racism was a policy, whatever, but because you were so sure of your craft and you were so focused, people looked through it.
No. They are genuinely non-white racial policy people. It was a government policy,
Right.
which obviously over time.
Right.
No, but they are genuinely non-racial people.
Wow.
No question.
Amazing.
And then they saw in me the potential and say, you should go to Harvard or Stanford.
And then you went to Harvard.
I applied to both, and I was in Harvard. I was admitted in 10 days.
In 10 days?
Yeah.
And you
I sent
applied
the
via
application.
letter? I'm sure
10 days back, then this came in and said, you're admitted. And then I was there 2 years, and I was in the top 3% of the class officially, Baker Scholar, and 3% high distinction. And before I finished my MBA, I got a call and say, we admit you to doctoral program, you have to apply nothing. You're admitted, here's a scholarship. So I spent doctoral program, and before I finished the program, I got a call from the dean's office, we'd like you to join the faculty.
And you were how old that time?
I was in 1967.
That means you were 29, 28.
28.
Wow.
And so I obviously said yes.
Right.
And so that's how this whole
So
thing.
tell us something fun you did in Harvard, nothing to do with work. What was a fun thing, something a bit mischievous you did in Harvard?
I don't do it. It's a straight coming from the hardcore values of Hindu culture, village culture. That's it.
So you never skipped lecture? Did you ever bunk? Did you ever skip?
No, never.
Well, never?
No.
Wow.
No, I would go to those classes where, in a case method, you get an instructor who really stretches you through questions. So in my second year, first day, in a business policy class, a professor who was a lawyer in his life asked me, he said, Mr. Charan, starts the class. I did. And he kept me for 40 minutes.
Really?
And I got better and better and better.
Right.
And he profusely thanked to the whole class, called me down to the pit, and he says, I trust you will prepare every day, but I won't call you again. I said, sir, you would. He said, no, I trust you, come prepared every day, you done. And obviously he gave me a high distinction.
Right.
He was very helpful later. So you go to those instructors who stretch you. And that's what I was looking for. So same course, second version, I went to another instructor who was the lousiest teacher, but the best knowledge in the field.
What do you mean by that?
He wrote the book on strategy,
Okay.
but he's not a good teacher. I went in there. I said, it's my job to learn from him.
Right.
And he was very supportive. And so I spent time with him alone, go to his office, because he had the knowledge. He wrote the first book on the planet on strategy.
What's that book called?
I think it was Concept of Strategy, Andrews.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
Ken Andrews, yeah. And then I wrote an article after that, out of the book.
Wow.
And that got recognized in the school.
Right.
So I was driven to learn, and that's what I do.
So, sir, if we see your journey, right, it was extremely academic to a point. And then we see a shift happening more towards going on the real life, corporate kind of zone. So was that something because of when you were a young man, when you were into your family business, that you wanted to be in action? That's why
No.
So how did that happen?
No, I had no intent at all.
Of doing consulting?
Not anything. Anything. At the shoe shop, my family says, I love it. No restriction, go.
Right.
I got admitted in BHU. At the time, it's the best school in India.
Right.
There's nobody to supervise me. But I was not that social, I was focused. because most of these students were MSCs and BSCs. I was intermediate with the lousy English. So eventually I graduated as first class as number 4 in the class.
Right, right.
And so that was good. And then comes the Australian stuff. And there I get to, without knowing it, demonstrate the business acumen.
Right, right.
Which they never expected. That an Indian engineer doing draftsman solving a big customer problem.
Right, right, obviously.
That opened for me the learning venues.
And your confidence also, right? That also increased.
No, I don't think I had much confidence. I don't.
Even after that,
No.
when the CEO called you to the house?
No. Confidence I didn't develop after a long time. I lacked confidence quite a bit.
When did you get it?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's almost, I've been now consulting 50 years.
Wow.
It's only when I became very bold. So one day I was standing in Washington, I think that was the day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was going to see the CEO of Citigroup, and walked in Jack Welch with his 2 bodyguards, split. He knew me, obviously. I said, Jack, I heard this. He said, you did. I said, you're dead wrong.
You told?
Yeah. So he said, 4-letter word. So get into my office Monday morning. You need any help, I'll send you a plane, so on and so. So 8 o'clock I showed up. Glass is hanging. So get some fruit, sit down. There are 4 executive VPs sitting there, I know all of them. And he says, tell them what you told me at the hangar.
0 working capital?
No.
That was the difference?
No, that's different.
Different.
I said, I told you that you're wrong, dead wrong. He said, thank you.
You said on his face?
Yeah. I said, and he makes me repeat to these 4 executive VPs.
Wow.
He said, tell them what you told me at the hangar. I said, sir, I said, you're dead wrong. He said, thank you, you can go. 4 hours, they killed the hell out of the 4. I got a feedback. So his HR guy called me and said, what the hell did you tell him? So then he gave me an assignment.
Right.
So I call him every week, 10 to 8. Every single week, 26.
This was 80s, 90s, that time? 1980s, this is the time?
No, this is
Because he came in around 80s, right?
1994.
94, okay.
And he...
At his peak, that was his... GE was like the 4th most valued company or some...
And so I worked for 6 months. One day he calls me up and he says, I have changed my decision and I love you, and put the phone down. I got him to change his decision.
Wow. So those were the days that, the confidence...
Then I began to confidence because I did something useful to him.
Right.
You don't change this man's decision in 6 months.
Right, obviously, right.
And that I had the courage to say you're dead wrong. Then I began to say maybe I'm doing some things right.
Did that confidence ever go wrong? Like these guys have a lot of ego.
No, I don't go in any assignment with confidence.
Okay.
Never.
Never?
Because the reason is I don't know many things. I couldn't tell you here's the answer. I don't know. I met you first time.
Right.
I go to these very big shops and I sit with them. What the hell do I know? They're running big companies, big people, a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom. I need to learn first and say maybe this could work for you.
You need to ask the right questions basically.
No, it's just automatic.
Wow. So, sir, after Harvard, this corporate journey starts, and what is that one leader that you have worked closely with? You would say, and again, there is no ideal leader. I am not trying to make a generic statement there. But what is that one leader you believe was the closest to perfection?
No, this is the question that Amy asked me today.
Okay.
The success of a company does not depend on any leader. It depends on the right fit between the leader and the company. So I can take a leader from here, and I can have plenty of examples, and put him here, he will fail.
Right.
I can take one here, put him here. He was failing, but very successful here. So it is the fit.
Very interesting.
And fit is never perfect. So good fit, better fit. And so there are lots of examples of fit. And why CEOs fail is not because they're bad, it's because the fit is not good. So in one equation in India, in very large company, they were recruiting a human being. I think it's an accomplished human being. They has signed the paper to recruit him, but the promoter asked me to go and interview him anyway.
Okay.
So I went in and interviewed him 6 hours.
6 hours?
I do, my selection of CEOs is 6 hours.
So what do you ask in 6 hours?
And so I worked with him. Interviewed. And so I said, he's a good man, but a wrong fit. And so I wrote that little piece to the founder. He did not hire him.
Okay.
Because the logic was there. And the logic, essentially, without telling everything, was in his 9 years, his total revenue growth was 5% combined. This company grows at 20% per annum.
Okay. I'm assuming it's FMCG?
Doesn't matter, no. My point to the founder was, I don't think I'd take the risk.
Right, right.
So his question was with his HR guy, where were you? They made the behavioral fantastic. And that's true. He was very good.
Right, right, right.
He listens well, he has done teamwork, he's collaborating, he has a pretty good feel for the business.
Right.
But if you grow only 5% in 9 years, it's not 5% per annum.
Right, 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 right.
I said, I don't think I take that risk.
Makes sense.
So the HR people miss that. Got to deliver numbers. And I probed him for 6 hours. Why is this much? Why this low? Why this low? All excuses.
Right.
9 years is not a small period.
It's a very long period.
So you can't say, I had a bad luck.
Right, right. So, okay, I get that what you said, right? You need a fit. But if I had to ask you one common habit that you can see in leaders, what is that?
Yeah, again, the habit, and again, there's no generalization on the habit. Because I've seen people who are very low-key and very effective. And there are who I will not have them next to me, and they talk too much, and they still succeed.
Right.
But I would say the one requirement that is very crucial, the ones who succeed better, they are better in selecting and building their direct team.
Okay. The second line.
We can buy visions. We can buy strategy help.
Right, right.
You really can't buy selecting your direct reports and building as a team. You have to do it. So I'm not saying you take dumb people. They're bright, they work hard. But those who have durability, they are better in selecting the people and building the direct report team. In terms of characteristics, open mind and listening are central. The idea, I know it everything, is a disaster. And then these people are incessant learners.
Really?
Extraordinary.
At that level also?
Yeah, I mean, I go to the companies, and sometimes they let me sit down with people in the cafeteria. Otherwise, they serve great food.
Yeah.
And I said, I just want to sit down. The cafeteria executives.
Right, right, right.
They know who I am.
Obviously.
So I say, tell me in the last month, what did you read? Relevant to your
Work.
executive work. I read industry reports. What else? Newspapers. What else? Now, I don't insult them. I wouldn't have them. You got to learn what the external trends are.
Right. Obviously.
Did you read about the new technologies? Do you do it regularly? So in one company, we're now instituting that you got to read materials. The CEO does. Why don't you?
How do you institutionalize that? How do you?
We've asked them.
Okay.
I said, if you don't read it, we're not going to be Gestapo. It's your life.
Right.
Your people will know more than you do.
Obviously. Right.
And don't give me the excuse I don't have time.
Right.
Because if you don't develop, you're going to lose.
That edge.
If you learn something, nobody's going to take away from you.
Very interesting.
But you see in your own companies, how people after graduation stop reading. My reading, it doesn't mean books, new consumption, new information.
Right. I think that's a very valid point, sir. So, at one side, you said that openness is a very
It's a huge point.
a very big trait. What is one vice, one thing negative that is most common? I'm not saying every leader, but most common.
Leave the ethical issues and all that stuff, sex and all. The vice is, I know everything. That's the vice.
Right.
The mindset that I know everything is a disaster.
Very interesting.
No person will know everything.
Obviously. Right. So, sir, you have said this very interesting theory, age of discontinuity, and you talk about Tesla, about iPhone. For a layman who does not understand business that well,
Yeah.
could you help us out with that?
Yeah. Let's go to the largest population of CEOs.
Okay.
Who are they?
They are, as in like where they're from, or?
They are these street vendors.
Okay. Right.
In the world. And they are the largest population of business acumen. No degrees, no videos, but they are the quintessential. So when I get some time, and I mean almost weekly, I go to the streets.
In the US also?
Anywhere.
Okay.
I was in, where was I recently? And so I had an hour in the evening. I went to the street, go around, see. Do you understand Golgappe?
Yeah, obviously.
You know those?
Yeah.
So I spent 15 minutes. This man has Golgappe hanging. He's got a little stand there. He obviously brings them. And there's a good number of people buying. He does his stuff.
Right.
I'm watching. And I'm saying, it's about 5 o'clock in the evening. It's not, sun is not fully set yet, but you know this. This is very recent. So I'm watching that the price, the cost of manufacturing that Golgappe has gone up.
Okay.
Has increased the price.
Right.
He has no choice. His customers are local. It's a local area. They come. How is he treating them?
Right.
Start there. That is what the business is all about. So he does not know the word inflation.
Obviously.
Can I use the Hindi word?
Yeah, please, sir, audience.
महंगाई हो गई.
Right.
समझ गए? अब महंगाई में क्या करें?
दाम बढ़ाएं. Increase the rates.
भाई तो इस महंगाई के लिए हमें तो दाम ज़्यादा लगाने हैं. समझ में आ गया?
Right.
पूछो उनसे. उसमें एक खास बात है.
जी.
अगर वो 50 रुपए के 4 देता था, वो कभी जब महंगाई ज़्यादा बढ़ गई 50 रुपए की 3 कभी नहीं देगा.
वो रेट बढ़ाएगा.
वो 7-70 करे फिर भी 4 देगा.
जी.
Big companies, chocolate,
छोटा कर
1986,
देती हैं.
they cut the chocolate. He will never do that. वो कभी नहीं करेगा.
Very interesting insight.
ये बिजनेस है, उसको तमीज़ है उसकी, थोड़ी तहजीब है उसकी. कहीं भी नहीं, वो पढ़ते नहीं, कुछ नहीं. 7 दिन, 7 days a week. So if you want to learn business, you go there.
Wow.
The second is a kirana merchant. They have to do the same thing. More complex.
Obviously, more permutations and combinations.
More SKUs.
Right, that's why.
More variety. They don't know, but they do it intuitively.
That math happens there.
They learn, they do intuitively. How much to buy, when to buy, how would you price it? And building credibility with the customer, because the customer is totally local.
Right.
So people who are on the street vendor who sell fruit, they go to mohallas. Understand mohalla?
Yeah. Locality.
We call that beat.
Yeah.
So you will find, if you watch it carefully, they will give more generous amount of fruit and better to the children than to the adults. Children go and tell the parents, and you build a trust.
Right. That's true.
But nobody taught them to do so.
It's just inside. Like,
ठीक है?
it's a reflex action. Right. Right.
They will do something to the kid. Kid likes them.
Right.
They build trust. We talk here customer loyalty. As somebody invented at Harvard Business School or somewhere. Look at the customer loyalty of this thing for 1,000 years.
Right. So, age of discontinuity, right? How is that? How do we link it to this now?
Yeah, age of discontinuity, the phrase itself is for people who are not kirana merchants, not Golgappe guys, but they too face the age of discontinuity.
Right.
So, example, you go to some cities, maybe tier 2, and you have these cloth merchants. They made a living for decades. Now you open a discount house. Nice building. The merchandise is decidedly cheaper. They have a scale, they buy better. This is discontinuity for the established retailer.
Like disruption, basically. Is that?
That's correct. Point is, they don't use these words.
Right.
They're now saying, how do I cope with it? They don't say there's a scale advantage. They don't know what they're talking.
Obviously.
And they're saying, well, this is the year, but the price is real, merchandise is good here. What's going to happen to us? And they get badly affected.
Right.
The smart ones move the shop.
Move the shop.
They go somewhere else. There, the customer will come here but not come there, but it still comes there. And their trusted customers will go there.
Yeah.
Or they let the discount guys sell this half price, but they have something to the villager like credit.
Bhai khatas and that. Right.
They're smart business wise. Otherwise, how could they live?
Obviously. Right. Very interesting.
So we're saying that महंगाई तो बढ़ेगी. It's a way of the age of discontinuity. Or we're going to have new kind of competitors coming in. What would I do?
Very interesting.
In my town, up to 1947, shoe shops were run only by Muslims.
And why was that? Just like that?
Cows, all that stuff.
Oh, okay, leather and all that. Right.
So my father and uncle decided to go into shoe business. The first question was, we don't know anything about it.
This was UP, very communal.
UPM.
Very communal.
And so my father said, was totally illiterate, both of them, they can't write and can't read.
Right.
I never forget it. ग्राहक आपको सब समझा देगा. The customer will teach you everything.
Right.
That's what we did. The discontinuity came. These Hindu guys put a shop in 1 year. They produced 1 lakh of sales. 1947, 1 lakh is a ton of money.
Crores today.
And the sales of the Muslims suffered. That's discontinuity. We didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yeah. Now you retrospect, you can.
Now I look at it.
Right.
In 1 year, from 0 to 1 lakh of rupees, if you convert into today's rupees, you should convert minimum 80 lakhs.
Obviously. Right.
That's pretty good
It's pretty good.
in a town.
Wow. So the discontinuity is a cycle of life then?
Not cycle, continuous discontinuity.
Continuous discontinuity.
The cyclicality is cycle of life.
Very interesting.
It comes back. This one is not going to ever come back.
Right. So now taking to your new book that you've written, what you say and what I have seen is that whenever such times come, uncertainty comes, the more information you grasp, the higher probability you have of finding something new. And that's what you said during the COVID-19 virus. And we saw how that played out. The companies who did that, they made enormous amounts of gains. Coming to this new age recession that we are talking about, why do you see that happening? And you obviously explained it a bit. And the question everyone will ask you, where does the world go from now, from here?
The world will continue to change. It will change at an accelerated pace. So you don't look back, old days will come back.
They won't.
No. Don't do that. That contaminates your psychology. No look backwards for that. You say, I've got to continue to stick my finger in the air. What's new? What's changing? How do I find it? What am I picking up? That's the mentality. And time marches on. Future does not come from some years ahead to today. It is human beings who create the future other than natural disasters. So you say, who are the human beings who are driving the future?
Right.
Learn about them. Technologies themselves don't change the future. Human beings who nurture technologies and use them change the future. Who are these? You have examples of Steve Jobs. He took old technologies and changed the future.
Yeah, he took old.
There are many others who have done that. You can argue Tesla took old technology and new ones. He changed the future.
True.
He actually grabbed the future from somebody else and changed the future because the Tesla car was not built by him.
Yeah, he's not the founder. He bought the company.
He did not, no. He did not build the car. They ran out of cash and he picked it up.
Yeah. He came in as the chairman and eventually acquired the whole thing out.
They went, before him, they went to the CEO of General Motors, Rick Wagner. He spent 3-4 hours. He didn't get it.
2003-4, that time?
3-4 hours.
Okay. I'm saying this was during 2003-4.
Before Tesla, before Elon Musk took it.
Right.
The founders found a way to go on Civic Wagner General Motors. I showed him.
He didn't get it.
He didn't get it.
Wow.
The CEO of Barnes & Noble went to see Jeff Bezos in 2001. They didn't get it. The CEO of Walmart invited Bezos to his mansion. They spent 2 hours. He didn't get it. At that time, these are nobodies.
Right.
Netflix is a better story.
Blockbuster.
That those guys went to see the guy who used to send cassette.
Blockbuster. Blockbuster, sir.
Yeah, that's it, Blockbuster. Yeah. They threw him out. They threw these 2 guys out from the Dallas building in about 25 minutes.
And he only asked $50 million at that time to sell Netflix.
Nothing.
Right.
They couldn't say it.
Right.
And we said, there you go.
So, like a lot of people that are watching this podcast, they are in this IT industry of India particularly, and outsourcing is what runs their houses and how they plan the future ahead. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, a lot of them are people who are working in these companies. What we see is whenever recession comes, people try to become more efficient. It sort of makes the overall ecosystem more efficient. And in some ways, you can argue that outsourcing brings in more efficiencies. People can argue. So do you think that the Indian tech outsourcing, that is going to take a beating for good or for bad with the recession coming?
I think first you got to say how long the recession will last. We don't know that.
So you would.
I have told my people I work with, even if I'm wrong, you must plan recession and possibly stagflation, minimum 2 years, up to 3.
Really?
Even though it comes back, it takes psychology to change. And the cost increase is very significant in India.
Right.
So I'm saying cumulatively over a 2-year period, not in India but in Europe, will be close to 19%.
19?
Yeah, in Europe. It's already running about 11.
And what will be the growth rate?
2 years, 11 is right now.
Okay.
So 2 years combined will be around 19 or so.
No, sir, I'm not talking about inflation. I'm talking about growth rate.
Yeah, inflation will be 19, so combined. Think of 2 years or 3 years.
Right.
And then it's cumulatively what that is.
Wow.
You will make a decision differently than if you take year by year.
Right. Very interesting.
So you plan on that basis. Even if I'm wrong and things go upside, you say it's a good blessing.
So the IT outsourcing, what do you think? The IT tech outsourcing industry in India, do you think their business will increase? Their order book will increase?
No. I think these are good companies. They can go through some bumps.
But solid.
There are not very many good companies outside India on that.
Right.
We will always need outsourcing. We have number of small companies. The ones I get to see, almost 80-90% are Indian.
Yeah.
So why not? They left the big companies, they start their own, 500 million, 250 million, 1 billion, and they serve it, they're profitable, and they outcompete the big ones.
Yeah. More specialization.
So I think we can always improve, but I'm very happy the way India is supporting and winning and creating the IT services population.
I think that will give a sigh of relief to a lot of people from that industry watching you saying that.
Yep.
I think that's big news. So, sir, I would just like to end it with asking you a question. If you had to talk to your own 22-year-old self in today's day and age, what would you tell him or her?
So I tell such young people who are children of my clients. I go to their house, I sit down, talk to them alone. Parents have a way of influencing the dialogue. And I try to find out what's their bent. If I can find it, I show them. sometimes I don't. And say, don't let anybody tell you anything. You go that way.
I like that.
Period. Fight for it.
Whatever it is.
My father wants to be a doctor. Well, you're not a doctor guy.
Right.
My father wants me to be the successor to him. I said, no, you love music. Get the hell out of the house. I tell him too later. I said, what you doing? You will die. He will remember that you did not know what he wanted. That gets to them. If they want to do things child doesn't want to do, I say, yeah, but he'll go away. What do you think he will remember? There was a situation where the only son doesn't want to be CEO.
So you made the chairman?
Made him chairman.
Yes, I read about that.
But there was a lot of a struggle for the father to come to that conclusion. That I have a number of them in America where the son is estranged from the father.
Right.
I said, what for? There's nothing wrong with the son. He doesn't do any bad thing.
Okay.
He wants to do this, not this. You got the money. What the hell?
Right. Wow. I think this has been great insight for all of us here, and really appreciate your time, sir.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you so much for your time. Would love to see you very soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.